When you get up first thing in the morning, are you bouncing out of bed, ready to go? Or do you hit that snooze button 6 times because you just need to get those couple extra minutes before you take on your day? As you go through your day, do you feel like you need a nap an hour after lunchtime? How about dinner time? Do you wish dinner time was actually bedtime, but you've got to buy 3 or 4 more hours of getting things done, but you're so tired you wish you could just fall asleep? Then what happens at bedtime? It's now 10 o'clock, you lay your head down on the pillow, but you know what? Now you can't fall asleep, and you think it's because your mind is racing, and it takes you a half hour to an hour before you're actually asleep. How many of you stay asleep during the course of the entire evening? Or are you getting up? Some of you getting up for a few minutes and falling back to sleep, some of you for a half hour to an hour. Does this describe you at all? If that's the case and you answer yes to any of those questions, know that although this symptom of fatigue and the different aspects of it are extremely common, none of that is normal. What should happen is you should wake up without an alarm clock with the energy that you need to do whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish throughout the day, get through the entire day without feeling worn out or like you need to take a nap, and then fall asleep within moments of your head hitting the pillow at an appropriate bedtime. That's exactly how it should work. So, for those of you that didn't answer the question that way, what do we do about it? What can we look at? Well, there's all kinds of things that can lead us to the symptom of fatigue. And what's interesting is when you find the exact cause of that, change that through diet recommendations or supplements, you can actually alter your energy patterns so that you can have fantastic energy throughout the entire course of the day. So, here's some ideas for you. First thing, for those of you that don't fall asleep real well or aren't bouncing out of bed first thing in the morning, I would ask you to look at your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are 2 glands that sit by your kidneys and they pump out steroid hormones. The main one that we look at is cortisol. Cortisol has what's called a circadian rhythm about it. What does that mean? That means that first thing in the morning, cortisol levels are really high. That's your internal alarm clock. That's what gets you out of bed first thing in the morning. Then as the day goes on, that cortisol drops down, although we don't want it to drop too quickly, but it does lower so that we don't get so tired, but by the time it is bedtime, it needs to be low enough that you can actually fall asleep. If that cortisol is too high later in the day, that's what keeps us up, and we get that second wind, or we claim to be that night person, and the reality is we really should be going to sleep somewhere between 9 and 11 o'clock at night, and getting between 6 and 9 hours of sleep, feeling completely refreshed the next morning. The adrenals are a very easy thing to fix when the dysfunction is found. Well, what if it's not the adrenal glands? What if it's as simple as maybe a vitamin or mineral deficiency? There's some really simple blood tests where we can look at iron levels, we can assess for B vitamins, we can even check vitamin D levels. And those are probably the 3 most common things that I see that are deficient that can lead to low energy. So sometimes just by supplementing with the appropriate IUs of vitamin D, or raising iron levels, or supplementing with some B vitamins, which are very commonly depressed with levels of stress in our environment, we can have the energy that we're actually looking for. What else? How many of you have thought, maybe I have a thyroid condition? I seem to fit all those symptoms, the main one being fatigue, and people keep checking my thyroid levels and telling me that it's normal. Well, has the thyroid really been properly assessed? Have we actually looked to see if there's an autoimmune component to thyroid? Very commonly we find that thyroid gets misdiagnosed because the appropriate labs aren't run. So I would ask you to ask your physician about how to have the thyroid panel done appropriately so that all of the levels are checked. What else? Maybe the food we're consuming in our digestive system. Did you ever think that maybe that's playing a huge role in your energy level? That even though we think we're eating healthy and we're eating meals throughout the day and snacking appropriately, that might actually be leading us to feeling tired all of the time? So, if we actually look if there's any foods that are contributing to chronic inflammation in the body, or it's depressing our immune system, that may be why we feel sluggish. I'll share with you a real simple story. I have a friend, he's 26 years old, great shape, works out all the time, eats very healthy, but he does consume a gallon of milk a day. And he says to me one day, I don't think I can feel any better, I feel fantastic. So I challenged him to cut out the gallon of milk. I said, give me 3 weeks, no milk, and if you don't feel any better, I'll be the first one to admit I was wrong and you can put the milk back in. Well, within 6 days, he came back and said to me, you know what, just by eliminating the dairy, the gallon of milk that he was consuming, he actually had an increase in his energy that he didn't even think could get better. So if we can take somebody who has great energy and improve it just by one small dietary change, think how profound it might be if we take somebody who's fatigued all the time and alter their diet. So we can actually look at the foods we're consuming and try to change that. The second half of all of that comes down to digestion. Are you actually digesting and absorbing your food? Are your bowel habits normal? People think all the time, well, I move bowels every 3 days and that's normal for me. And although again, that might be common, I would challenge you to think differently in regards that it's not normal at all. Is it possible by not moving waste material through the body that is leading to some sluggish and fatigue issues for you if you just don't feel like you have the energy to get through the day? So whether it's looking at the adrenal glands or the thyroid, whether it's looking at hormones in general or vitamin or mineral deficiencies, whether we look at food or digestion, there are so many different reasons that we might feel fatigued. And what I would like to see you look at is not accepting the fact that you're tired because you work hard, because you have children, because there's stress in your life, or whatever the excuse is. I would challenge you to say there must be an underlying cause for the reason that I am so tired. And when you can work with your physician to find that underlying cause and make those corrections, you will learn that although it's extremely common, there was absolutely nothing normal about it.